What's going on? I'm shooting right in the sun because why not? I feel beautiful in the sun right now. Episode 31. I'm gonna reshoot this. I shot this. It deleted off my computer in a phantom way, but just gonna touch on a couple, pretty much everything on this episode. Lots of topics here, but thank you for rocking with us. Episode 31 and 32 will be out this same week, the week of January 19th, and potentially episode 33 as well. Also gonna get back up and running with the Polaroid podcast, and it looks like I have a pretty big first guest back. Pretty excited about it, and I believe it will be in person, which is always how I prefer to do my Polaroid podcast interviews. But first and foremost, just kind of ending the book on MEAC football, SWAC football, South Carolina State. They raised the trophy yet again. Those guys are different. They handle business down there. I did say that on this show, and I think that a guy like Deshaun Jackson, on the very first or second episode of this show, I talked about my skepticism with him taking the Dell State job. And I will say that he's done a great job in year one, better than Mike Vick has done at Norfolk in year one, surprisingly, in my opinion. But I also saw they just announced a BET series following the Norfolk State journey. So maybe whoever is advising over there, they might need to take some advice elsewhere. But at the end of the day, HBCU football is valid, and I think that PV, getting all the way there, like a lot of them dudes probably should get NFL looks. Will they? Probably not. They should at least get UFL looks. Will they? Probably not. But at the end of the day, like PV really, tapped into something new this season that they hadn't had in a long time. Really shocked me, shocked a lot of people coming out of the SWAC. Very competitive. Alcorn, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, uh, Southern, the likes of those schools, very competitive. I think that it says a lot that also, Shador Sanders and Dion, they went 0-2 in the Celebration Bowl. And Travis Hunter, they went 0-2 in the Celebration Bowl. I think one time versus Central and one time versus South Carolina State. And they played in the MEAC. They were playing in the SWAC versus the MEAC, obviously in the Celebration Bowl, being the HBCU national championship. They were playing against those guys when A&T was out of the conference. Now A&T used to roll in the I mean for years on end, which is one of the reasons that they went up, so to speak, into at least financially, right, so to speak, into the Big Sky and CAA, respectively. Um, had to put a little Kai Cenat right there. Sorry. But incredible football at the HBCU level. South Carolina State got the job done. Howard University does lose out on our coach. I think I talked about that on the last episode. But Larry Scott, great dude, and he's over in Auburn now. And we just signed on Ted White, who is a Howard legend, all-time leader in almost every statistical category from the quarterback position. Uh, and I'm just excited to see, the direction the school goes in. There's a lot of dudes who are on the staff now who were actually athletes while I was there. So it's interesting to see what those guys have going on, how they plan to go about, not necessarily turning around the team, but capitalizing on what we already have. We have a great name. We have facilities that are getting better. DC is a really, really nice place to be at. And I think that there's to me a long string of dudes who have benefited from the Howard experience. In any way you slice it, right? Not gonna say that every single thing we did benefited to Brian Cook going to the NFL, but Brian Cook just, playing for 4 years straight, starting 4 years straight in the back half of the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. Multiple time Super Bowl champion. He played in the college football playoff with Cincinnati alongside Sauce Gardner and all those guys. And yeah, like I said, like there's lots of dudes who have benefited from the experience one way or another. So, um, Indiana and Miami will meet in the national championship game tonight on January 19th, the day that this is being filmed. And I believe that Indiana is going to roll. Miami does not have enough, in my opinion, to beat the machine that is Indiana. And Indiana looks like and is a machine at the current moment in time. They took out Oregon in dramatic fashion, and I'm not convinced that anyone else in that matchup could have put up a much better fight. I think that they would have beat anybody who they played, whereas UM beating Ole Miss, that also is a major credit to them. Trinidad Chambers was fantastic in that game. I don't really understand why he's continuing to try to return to the double NCAA because he is a NFL quarterback. And in a year where people are not looking at quarterbacks as the strongest position group by a large margin, he's a really strong quarterback in a group of guys that, again, people are not saying are very strong. I think he's in a lot of drafts, quarterback 3, 4, 5, 6 to 8, But he's trying to return. He's like suing right now. It's not gonna happen. He should just declare. Chambliss is probably gonna declare once he finishes with this NCAA junk. Mendoza is gonna declare. I believe he's declared already, but he's gonna declare. Um, Ty Simpson out of Alabama. So there's definitely some options throughout the draft, depending on what you're looking for and what team you're rooting for. But I think that tonight Indiana rolls against Miami. It would be a lot if Carson Beck wins this game for his draft stock. When you see what a guy like Bo Nix is doing, right? I think that's a really reasonable comp. Guy who's on his second destination, who's leading his team in a certain way, has seen a lot of offenses. Um, yeah, there's definitely benefits to this new age 25-year-old plus quarterback who's seen multiple offenses and who's made all this money playing football. There's definitely pros to it. Something a little different that I had wanted to do, and I will do again. But we have 4 films, okay? 4 films. So lots of honorable mentions. I can't go through all of them, but I mean, just a couple. Like a holiday film, I think is Last Holiday, which is my second favorite holiday film after The Perfect Holiday. I believe that's the movie with Charlie Murphy and all of them. Love that movie too. Queen Latifah's in both movies, unsurprisingly, but Last Holiday with Queen Latifah and LL Cool J and all of them cats. I mean, that's a great film. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I think that's a solid rom-com, big fan of that. But all right, 4 films. So Roll Bounce, number one. These are not in order, but Roll Bounce, number one. Um, so many great performances in that movie, like just overall, and from actors and actresses all up and down the age spectrum and experience spectrum at that point in time. Bow Wow is a person who had to transition from this child who's exposed to so much, and he's basically like a street rapper as a not 4-year old, but like six to 12-year old. He's like the street rapper, and then he does like Mike, and I think that really helps bridge the gap of okay, this is not just some kid who Jermaine Dupri has out here in his streets. Like he has a lot of marketability. He could do movies, and then we have Tokyo Drift. I'm not sure if that came up before or after Roll Bounce, but thinking about Tokyo Drift and his role in Tokyo Drift, I think that's not as big of a role at all, right? He's not like the leading man. But Roll Bounce and then Lottery Ticket, like those are two like Bow Wow leading man movies that show you the marketability and like his ability. Like he's legitimately like hilarious in both movies. But in Roll Bounce, he also has a depth of emotional vulnerability that he displays while he's skating, but also while he goes on the rant about his mom, right? While he's destroying the car with the bat. Um, and I think the just to end on Roll Bounce, the obviously sweetness, right? Um, his little intro is nuts. It's just nuts. Everything about the movie is nuts. Shot really well. Too Fast, Too Furious. Gotta put that on here. John Singleton film. Paul Walker, Tyrese Gibson. Too Fast, Too Furious is interesting because it's really like different. Two and three are different movies than 1, 4, and 5. Like 1, 4, and 5 are kind of basically a trilogy, and then 2 and 3 stick out in their own ways. And two is like really like a branch off of redemption for for Brian. um, Paul Walker's character. And there's so many well shot scenes in there, like the garage scene where all the cars disperse, the big car race scene at the beginning with Michael Ealy, who never like comes back in the movie for real. Ludacris just being all up in the movie. As who he was, right? Before he became this computer tech. Like when Ludacris was really just a straight dude who knew everybody. That's who his character really was supposed to be. Robots, I love animated films. Robin Williams, rest in peace to the great. Robots has so much symbolism in it, so much imagery, but it's hilarious. It's a movie that we always watch as a family. We laugh at. We're no longer at the point, with most of the animated movies, it's like once you see the twist the first time, or once you understand the twist the first time, you're not going to sit there and go, "Oh," every time afterwards, right? But it's definitely something that I feel like had stuff that you could take from at any age that you watch the movie at. And again, very, very entertaining movie, up and down. Shout out robots, shout out animated movies. I had Aristocats on my honorable mentions. Like I said, I love a lot of animated movies. Gotta go see Zootopia 2. I heard that's a big one. All right. Last but never least is Above the Rim. This is a film that I feel like never gets its credit or never gets its just due when it comes to people talking about movies in the 90s, mid 90s, having explicitly to do with basketball. I believe this movie is 94 or 95. Or maybe 93 even. This is a Tupac Shakur kind of as a villain type dude, right? Like his name's Birdie. He's this gang member leader. It's him. It's Wood Harris is a part of his gang. Marlon Wayans is like super. He's like super low on the totem pole on the gang. And then they're backing this basketball player, Dwayne Martin's character, Kyle, and they go to his high school games. And the opening scene is Kyle being a ball hog. The ending scene of the movie is Kyle, I think, making the right play. But he might have been at Georgetown while he was doing it. But he learned so much throughout the film, and he has this heartwarming relationship with his mom because I think in a lot of ways Kyle is a jerk throughout the movie, and he has to learn not to be a jerk, but he learns throughout the movie that there's levels. I think that's another important life lesson. Like Above the Rim is a phenomenal movie. I really might watch it after this because it is so good. Leon is so convincing as the ex-basketball player who lost his buddy, who teaches the moves. He's like sitting on all the moves, and he has the ending sequence where he's getting all the bucks. I think he gets shot or something like that. Uh, but and yeah, and then Marlon Wayans, like he shines he's a scene stealer. Like this is when you really start to see the evolution of Marlon Wayans as the scene stealer. It's beautiful. That's my four films. Let me know y'all four films in the comments. I'm gonna clip this up too, so I'm gonna throw it in another joint. Let me know in those comments as well, because I want to know y'all four films. Let me know if I did Criterion Closet any justice. Okay, I never got to cover Trae Young going to the Wizards, but I think that could be a great trade. They have on paper a very similar team to the Atlanta Hawks, so I really don't think that there's and Trae Young anywhere he's been, he's averaged at least 9 assists a game, which is never appreciated. He's not as much of a cone, in my opinion, as Luka Doncic, and that's saying a lot. Not, I don't think he's doing what Luka's doing offensively, um, but he is not a cone like Luka is defensively at all. Just yeah, he really tries the best that he can for being his size. I don't hear complaints about other dudes who are not playing as much defense. But I digress. I think that him to the Wizards can be really, really good. I think he can be the OG over there. It just all depends on what the Wizards are trying to do and who the Wizards are trying to pay. Because you got some dudes who are coming up to be paid soon who are looking fantastic, you know. So what do they do? On this funny on this the last time I shot this, I had kind of speculated on who the Giants were going to hire for head coach. They have hired John Harbaugh. He has also brought on Todd Monken, who was just with him with the Baltimore Ravens. Not really a surprise. I'm excited about this, but I'm also weary of this because right, you have still to some holes to fill defensively to keep it a stack. I think offensively you have the personnel to do whatever Monken wants to do. They were very efficient in Baltimore. Uh, Lamar Jackson ran the ball at will, and his body was protected. I think that's the biggest thing. Like Jackson Dart needs to protect his body, and he can only really do so if he tries to stay outside of the numbers while he runs the football. as much as he can, but also while having a highly effective run game. And I think using multiple backs like Monken likes to do will be beautiful because I got really frustrated as a Giant fan watching Scatterboo get favored over Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy is a gadget player in the way of a Christian McCaffrey. Like he is a poor man's McCaffrey. He's so good. Like he needs to be utilized whether it's in the pass game or in the run game. And he can pass block as well. So I don't like keeping him off the field as much as people might like Cam Scatterboo and his destructive run style. But that's just not sustainable. And I prefer Tracy as a ball watcher. I prefer Tracy. So we'll see what the Giants do. I had speculated on Mike LaFleur and Antonio Pierce and obviously John Harbaugh. I think Mike LaFleur is probably still going to get a nod somewhere, especially because the Rams are still in it. Antonio Pierce, I doubt is probably going to get looked at. I think he's getting Rooney ruled a little bit, but it is what it is. And finally, on this episode 31 of In the Am with MC, the Colorado Buffs are coming. As Deion Sanders likes to say, we coming. They lead the FBS in transfers in at this point in time, January 19th. They have 40 transfers into the school. Now, mind you, a lot of these dudes look legit. Like in the years past, I will say, some of these guys that they're getting don't look the best. And then that comes with some sketchy coaching. They also get some obvious locker room cancers. It looks like they've only got one or two guys this year as opposed to five or seven who legitimately might tank the whole locker room. But the likes of like real name brand dudes. And it's crazy that we're talking about players like this, but this is what happens. But a Boo Carter type guy, all across the offensive line, they have seasoned players who have over 1,700 like snaps started at all levels of FBS and high level FCS. And these are big dudes. Hopefully they can move. I think that's the big thing at the end of the day. Playing against these new age guys, can you move? I saw that in real time. I feel like I got to see the shift in a lot of things in basketball and football, just playing high school sports from 2014 to 2018. Like I feel like I saw like a real life shift. And one shift definitely came in the football realm of having smaller offensive linemen who could move and having smaller defensive linemen who could move, but then kind of having like one dude who was just a mammoth, but could also move way faster than he was supposed to. So now it's like, how do you actually defend that? Colorado struggled with that, and Julian Lewis is not the biggest dude in the world. He's got a rocket for an arm though. So and he's playing in the go-go offense, so the ball's going to come out fast. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they can do in spring. I think that Marion's obviously not going to show everything on film when they play in the spring, but at the same time, they have so many receivers that have to get the ball. So for some of the receivers, it's like you have to at least feed me in the spring, or I'm gonna leave. Or you feed me in the spring enough, and then someone's like, "Yo, bro, why are you still there?" And they're not gonna feed you every game, and then they leave. Like they have like 12 receivers. None of these guys are not all gonna play. And Marion was tweeting about Bukar playing offense. So we're gonna see what Colorado does. But like I said, 40 transfers in. UCLA has 39 transfers in. The portal is not done in the way of players can still commit to schools that haven't enroll or haven't met their deadlines for spring enrollment yet, but players cannot enter the portal anymore. So there's thousands of players just floating around with no home who are probably going to beg their schools to return. Good luck doing that. And this is a horrendous system, but this is what we're all witness to. Don't forget this when things change. Who knows what they shall change to? Who knows when that shall happen? But after seeing that graphic that a lot of people saw about, I think it might have been from Forbes about the valuation of a lot of these teams, it's probably not gonna happen anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? These guys are valued at billions and billions of dollars, and as even though the trade off probably feels crazy when you see these numbers get published, if you eventually are worth a multi-billion-dollar team, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? Or even like a high $100 million team, it's all right. You feel me? They don't really have an issue with that. 31st episode in the AM. Don't forget to drop your full films. Thank you for listening to the kid. I'm out.